Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this live broadcast from the A4Q Congress, second edition. My name is Debbie Archer, and I'm absolutely delighted to have with me Olivier Denoo. Olivier is from the president of the ISTQB. He's also president of the CTFL, which is the French Testing Board, and the that's right, isn't it?
CFTL. Never mind.
And also he's vice president of PS Testware. And I'm very much looking forward to Olivier's presentation. And I'll ask you all, if you'd like to ask some questions, pop them into the chat, please, and we'll present those in a Q&A session at the end of Olivier's presentation. And I know that he's always keen to answer questions and have people involved. So I'm not going to take any more time and pass straight over to Olivier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Good day, everyone, whatever time it is, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to be in this second edition of A4Q World Congress. And my presentation now is about delivering value faster. So let's jump to the show right now. Value faster. A while ago, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, and he was trying to convince me about the benefits or the advantages of agility. And one of the examples that he used to convince me, I don't really need it to be convinced, by the way, but this is more a matter of a small talk, actually. And one of the arguments that he was using is this famous example on how you can build the product step by step instead of having to wait for a very long time, called as the tunnel effect, to get the product delivered. So he was using this example of a car and saying, well, if you have to build a car in the agile way, you would probably go for a skateboard and then a scooter and then a bike and then a motorbike, and then finally a car. And eventually, with the last iteration, we would go, after the retrospective, we would go for an electric car or something. And for the sake of the argument and for challenging, I just said, well, okay, this is really fine what you're all saying, but basically speaking, just consider my case. You know, it's all very fine to tell me that you bring value to me faster, but basically speaking, I have 200 kilometers to drive if I want to reach the office in France, and I don't believe that a skateboard or a scooter would do the trick. By the way, yeah, a cycle would not do the trick either, because I hate cycling. Well, this is just me. Sorry about that. And I don't feel very safe on a motorbike. So basically speaking, the product that is really matching my expectation, my need, is definitely the car. So agility in that case, given the example, wouldn't make any difference at all. And oh, by the way, I need to wear a suit. So in any case, you need to provide me with something that is, safe enough, at least with regards to the rain. And so my minimum viable product is probably the car itself. And by the way, and there, I think in the context of, the jobs to be done, a car is not the only solution. It can be anything that drives me from point A to point B, given the fact that I wear a suit and that it can drive pretty fast, or fast enough, 200 kilometers away. Okay, my talk is not about bashing Agile by far, because I'm convinced about Agile and the benefit it brings to the world, but it's rather to dig into the concept of value, because the big motto of agility, the big concept, is saying to the world, we bring value faster. And it's looking like a marketing gimmick, isn't it? We bring value faster. But what is it that we call value, and what does it mean for people? So I started to think about this, and one of the things that people usually consider as being valuable are diamonds, and there are ways to evaluate or to evaluate diamonds, and I don't know if you know that, but there are mainly 4 criteria. And one is the size of the diamond, or the weight of the diamond, which is carat, the way it is cut, and this is not the shape of the diamond, but this is the way it reflects light, and it makes it, absolutely, shiny and brilliant. There's a criterion, about color. You have different kinds of diamonds and different colors of diamond, and some are, rarer than the others. And you have the notion of clarity. So that's not having any inclusions or smaller inclusions as possible in the diamond that make it interesting and valuable for people. That is usually how you can evaluate a diamond, but value is something that is evolving. That's a little bit like ethics. That's a little bit like society. Values are changing over time. And what is value, basically? So if you look at the video here, you'll see how diamonds...
We decided to build the largest smoke vacuum cleaner in the world. So it sucks up 30,000 cubic meter per hour, cleans it on the nano level using very little electricity, and then releasing the clean air. So we have parks, playgrounds, which are 55 to 75% more clean than the rest of the city. Every month or so, it opens like a spaceship. This is the stuff we are capturing. This is Beijing smog, pollution. This is the horror. We live 5 to 6 years shorter. Children have lung cancer when they're 6 years old. And we realize that 42% is made out of carbon. And carbon, of course, under high pressure, you get diamonds, yes. So inspired by that, we compress it for 30 minutes and making smog-free rings. And so by sharing a ring, you donate 1,000 cubic meter of clean air to the city where the tower is in.
So as you see from that TEDx video, diamonds can be obtained in different ways. And there is a whole controversy about diamonds and where they are extracted. They are extracted in general in poor countries. And some people argue that this is, some sort of exploitation of poor people in poor countries. And that diamonds are not as ethical as they might be. They're also using to generate corruption or finance weapons traffics or whatever. So alternatives are present in order to do synthetic diamonds. And synthetic diamonds are, about the same sort of crystal and the same sort of structure as normal diamond. It's just technology doing what nature is doing in a different way. And then the whole controversy starts whether they are greener and cleaner than the other one. Well, again, this is just a matter of viewpoints. This is a matter of values with an S, plural, compared to the value, how much money you will pay for something. This notion of value is also pretty much evolving over time. You probably remember Steve Jobs conference, if you're old enough like me, who was demonstrating, he was introducing the iPhone concept. And the big difference there with the iPhone concept, and this was the key of his conference, and he was a wonderful marketeer, of course. The key is this. This is the keyboard. And he just said, look at these phones. They all have a keyboard of different shape, of different size. But basically, this keyboard is consuming a lot of service within the phone. And you don't need this keyboard all the time. What you need is basically the screen. And all I would dream of is to have a keyboard that just pops up when I need it, and only when I need it, and then disappears. And the concept of the iPhone, or the smartphone actually, was born. So this is also, the contextual value. You just need a keyboard when you need it. When you don't need it, it's just, extra space that is taken from you. And people who miss that opportunity, who miss to see how value evolve, have lost the battle in history. That's Kodak, just neglecting the fact that digital camera would take the market, and trying to enhance their films and their classic kind of cameras, and just totally missing the digital transformation. That's IBM missing completely the PC market because they believe that computers would be just the big machines, the super calculators, while now everyone has a PC and even having a smartphone today. And, That's the kind of evolution in the value. Of course, value can also be tempered a little bit, and you have these biases called the halo effect. So if you look at these guys, Omega watch that is now worn by James Bond is increasing by numbers in terms of sales just because James Bond fans are feeling like being James Bond if they just wear the watch. And what else? George Clooney with Nespresso is making a big deal. This is how people can be influenced, and how our values can be influenced some sort of way by known people or by other factors, basically. Let's go to the launch of Windows 95. This is a very old video, and this is what's launching Windows 95. And $3 million were just used to get the Rolling Stones singing, And I'll just switch it off now. And the big difference in there was just that Microsoft was introducing the start button. And when they tried to remove the start button from the Windows 95 interface, when they introduced Windows 8, if you remember, this tiled approach with the modern UI that was first called modern UI or whatever, Metro, and then they had a lawsuit with the retail industry, and they had to call it modern UI. But getting rid of the start button to use the tile approach was a complete mistake, and people just said, well, we need that start button, we love that start button, and it has a value to us. There's also a big difference in the way we perceive value compared to the real value of an object. Let me just tell you a story here. You have this teddy bear, and this teddy bear is, as you read the price tag there, if you can, about $10. So that's a cheap teddy bear, actually. It doesn't mean anything, it's just a small gift, not big money, actually. But what if you think that this teddy bear belongs to your child, and suddenly you go to the big shopping mall and your child is just, losing this teddy bear somewhere? Can you imagine how sad that child would be, just losing her companion? That little confidant, that little furry toy that he or she tells all her secrets to, This is the difference between the value we perceive and the price tag of an object. It makes the whole difference. A very last example here, if you take a bottle of Coke, well, basically speaking, this bottle can have different prices, and the price tag would heavily differ depending on where you drink it. If you just go to the production site, it would cost about nothing. But if you go to the disco and drink a Coca-Cola, it would probably cost you something like €5 in my country. So you see that the value is depending a little bit on the service or the context that goes around. And as I was saying, remember, they spent $3 million just to introduce the little start button in Windows 95. And when they wanted to get rid of that, they suddenly realized that their users were not happy at all. So they needed to reintroduce the start button in Windows 95. And, well, I haven't tried, Windows 11 yet. But it looks like the start button has changed place, but it's still there somewhere. Okay. Value can also be biased in the different way. So let's say that if you're told that you drink something like a very expensive wine, something like a Chateau Margaux or a Chateau Petrus or something, your brain is activating some endorphins, and you feel really good. You feel really well about this. And basically, it was a psychological experience or experiment with students that were learning how to serve wine and recognize wine. These enologists in big hotel industry. And these students were given cheap wine in very fancy, very expensive bottles. And they nearly every time, if not every time, they overrated the experience, and they overrated the pleasure they had in drinking such an expensive wine, while it was just a very common wine. And they were testing the very common wine before in the real bottle, you know, in the cheap wine bottle. And they were saying, yeah, it's not very good, it's not very well known, it's some sort of ordinary wine. And they were served exactly the same in an expensive bottle, and then suddenly, wow, it became something absolutely wonderful. They were measured also. There were some kind of brain test and these kind of electroencephalogram measurements, and it showed that these guys were really feeling better just because of the wrapping, just because of the bottle, independent of the content. And it's not that they were complete rookies. It's not that they were just misled. You know, they were just deceived some sort of way, and they really felt better in just seeing the package. Same goes a little bit with McDonald's. The difference between the signs that you see there is the color. And when you look at the green color, you would probably perceive McDonald's as becoming something a little bit greener, you know, and that is typically happening in Europe when the green movement was a little bit stronger. And yeah, McDonald's decided to change all their signs to come a little bit greener. That's only in the signs, most probably, that they served salads. But in any case, this is just how to bias you, how to create this priming effect on their consumers. Okay. Some examples about value and how we can totally be misled about value. We tend to believe that cloud computing or software as a service or digital is greener. Well, if you follow up some posts recently put on the social media, you would see that just sending a mail is consuming a lot of energy, because you have the servers, you have the consumptions all over the internet. And basically speaking, we even had this big discussion within Google between Timnit Gebru, who's now an ex-Google employee, and the Google management, because of artificial intelligence and the amount of data that artificial intelligence should be using to be trained in a proper way. And there, the two arguments opposing were the following. Google, as the master of the data, was believing that the more data you get, the better. And Timnit Gebru, who was the one who brought in Google the gender and racial biases to surface, and showing that some artificial intelligence were actually biasing some information and favoring some groups above the others, just said, well, how about getting smaller amount of data, but well categorized, preformed in such a way that the AI can learn better with a smaller amount of data, and that would be greener. And this is this is how they came to the big discussion, and finally led to Timnit Gebru being fired, or getting away from Google. Digital storage has no limits. This is something that we tend to believe. Well, actually, power consumption has limits, and backup neither. We're told that the internet never fails. This is also some common belief. Internet never fails. It's been designed in such a way that it should not fail. Well, in the original time, yes, that was probably the case. But if you look at Fastly or OVH stories recently, well, I do believe that the internet is now heavily depending on a couple of big suppliers, and that it's not about not to fail at all. Technology is good. Well, yes, technology is good, and I must say that progress is good as well in general. But yeah, think about some adverse effects, let's say, of technology, and definitely the one that I'm quoting here about the autocorrect function in the smartphones. is definitely a hell. I perfectly remember that I was willing to say hello to somebody, and it just corrected for some reason, and it was hell someone. How are you doing? Well, this is not exactly what I meant, was it? Another kind of bias that you can have in value is basically called social confirmation. And if you go to Cialdini, Robert Cialdini, who studied these the ways to influence people, basically you would understand what I mean. And here are the examples of social confirmation. Social confirmation is, when people or even you don't know, but mass amount of people are expressing an opinion about something. So these are the little stars that you see there. This is the kind of camera I have today to speak to you. And you see that this is 4.5 stars out of 5. So which means that it must be a good camera, isn't it? A good webcam. Michelin stars, that must be a good restaurant. This village, that's also fine. These sales pop up, the social proof. So somebody is buying at a time what I'm looking at, and it must be good. And the best of all, and I definitely recommend to you to crawl the web and just look for the shed at Dulwich. This is a restaurant in London. That's the #1 TripAdvisor at the time. And this restaurant, never existed actually. This is just a journalist who was making some sort of a joke, and who was actually testing the power of social media and the way people approve stuff without even knowing, or even double checking what they approve. Actually, this social confirmation. And basically, what you see there on my screen looks like something that you would get in a fancy restaurant. Some kind of scallop with, I don't know, paprika and whatever kind of preparation it looks like. And actually, this is what it's all about. This is not a scallop. This is the kind of stuff that you use to disinfect your loo. And this is not anything like cream. This is basically this kind of shaving foam and kind of tint or whatever to fade the stuff. So this restaurant never exists, never served a meal, but it became #1 TripAdvisor. So that's really amazing. The last one is about credibility as well. We have this kind of dark market competitor who said that they have nearly 600,000 people certified, which is pretending to compete with the ISTGB. Well, basically speaking, that company does not really exist. If you check on the web, you would see that this is just a small office somewhere in a big building, and basically it took ISTQB about 10 years to reach such numbers. So how can they do that in less than 3 years of existence? I really doubt it. So I won't say the name. Just check for your own. Okay, value is also very much depending on me and on my own tastes. If you ask me about a good restaurant, I would probably go for the left one instead of the right one. But loads of people would be interested in quantity. In some countries, or in some people like to have loads of foods because that represents quality. And to me, loads of food is just quantity. There's a difference between quality and quantity, basically. Let me give you some examples about it and how we totally miss the point of value. I was involved in a project some years ago. That was a telco company, and basically they were introducing their loyalty program. So you phone a lot, you get points, and against the points you get 3 minutes or goods or whatever. And I was system testing this. This was my mission. I was system testing this piece of software, and I was very proud of that because we found a lot of defect. It was very professionally tested at the time, and every functionality is covered. The quality control at system test level fully passed. So that was all right. So I gave the software to the to the users, and after 10 minutes they sent it back to me, and they were in anger. And I just said, what's happening? It's been tested. We found lots of defects. They were fixed. We ensured that quality control is fine. So what is the real problem? And the real problem was that this piece of software that we tested was not able to do multitasking. And definitely, it was never written in any kind of requirements document that I've seen. But this was the real goal. So it was totally missed by the business analyst when they did their job preliminary. They totally missed the point that these guys, the users, were actually the call centers. And these guys were viewing the whole customer experience on their screen. So it had to be multitasking. They had to know their loyalty program together with their kind of tariff plan or rates. They need to have their history. They need to know if they were good debtors or not, and so on and so forth. And we totally missed the point. So we missed the value of the piece of software. We can automate testing with such a tool. Yeah, that was another experience in the software industry, and this was also a telco industry, by the way. They were completely screwed with part of their system that was so slow that the call center was not able to cope with the changes that were asked by the customers. So basically speaking, we used an automation tool that is originally planned, to do regression tests, this kind of automated regression test that we're doing all day. We use that to automate actually the process behind. And basically speaking, the guys from the call center were just entering the data in a flat file. The tool was reusing the data within the flat file and then put that in the system overnight. And because the robot can't wait and has not, to tell a funny joke to the customer waiting on the other end of the phone, it smoothed the whole process. So we twisted a little bit the value of a tool to do something else and to bring another value. That is also a sad story. And another telco operator. I worked a lot in telco in my early times. So there was a tariff plan for young people, youth, the youth segments. And, well, basically speaking, they were designing a special service for the youth segment. I'll make the long story short. This company, from their marketing intelligence, knew that the competition was going to issue the same sort of product and targeting exactly the same business segment, youth people. And they knew the price. And you know what? They just decided to keep their offering at a higher price because they said, we have the best mobile network in the country. And of course, it was a big failure from a commercial point of view because the youth segment is interested in getting as much as they can for the lowest money possible. Because these are young people, they don't have loads of money, and probably this money is coming from their parents, So they're just willing to have something that is cheap. And the right analysis would have been to say, well, we'll go a little bit cheaper because we're targeting that segment. And basically speaking, because they were overconfident about the quality of their mobile network, they totally missed the points. And yeah, this is also something that I've been offered very, very recently. I have, these kind of cable TV with a decoder. And well, I was getting a decoder, and the guy there at the shop was selling different sort of products, different sort of programs and decoders. And he said, well, we have a very flexible connectivity carry-on policy. That's you can take your decoder, go to the to the second house on the countryside or on the seaside, and you can plug it in there. It will be recognized, and you can watch your TV as if you were home. And I just said, well, that's all right, but this is for the normal TV stuff. What I'm looking for is a movie offer. Do you have a movie offer? No, I don't have that. Well, I'm sorry, then I'm not a customer for you. So this is really, they have an alternative that is, from a technological point of view, interesting, but the value to me is about zero. And the very last one, that's how customers can interact with value and what we think value would be and what they really think value is. Okay, so I'm talking about value, but how can we as testers involved in multidisciplinary teams and cross-functional teams, how can we get a grip on what value is all about? Well, first of all, an approach is called the empathy map, and the empathy map is just putting yourself into the shoes of your users. and try to figure out or get a grip on what they think, feel, what they say and do when they see your product, what they hear, what they see. And oh, by the way, what is the kind of problem they have, and how is your product or service getting to solve their very problem? This empathy map is something that is very, very easy to be done. You just draw these cases on a single sheet of paper, and you try to confront that with what you know about your customers, or even better, with your own customers or users, and get a grip on what is very important to them. This will help you, of course, prioritize your testing or requirements or whatever. Another way to put yourself into the shoes of your users is called personas. Personas is a business analysis technique or requirements engineering technique, very, very often used and very powerful. And the aim of the game there is to modelize or to model basically your customers, creating synthetic characters, a little bit like characters you have in a novel. So you flesh them with some specific data, like an age, profession, situation, some personality, what they like, what they don't like, and how they profile more or less with your product or service. And the name of the game is to have these guys in mind, and you don't need to create 10,000 of them. Just one per big category of user is usually enough. And that's having these personas in mind, so that you design and you test according to what their value or liking would be. And this is just keeping you on the right track all the time. And of course, you can have different personas. So this is another one, and you see that the profile is a little bit different. I also took care of having a gender difference here because the way we consume and the way we look at value might differ a lot if we are men or women. Think about cars, for instance. Who is going to drive the family car and who is going to drive the sports car? Very cliche, and it might be that the women like sports car, and it's all right. But we need to understand exactly what drives people and how people would make a choice in there. Let's come to another tool that is, in my very opinion, extremely useful to get into the customer journey, which is the product vision board. What is your product all about? And what is the vision that you have? What is the purpose or the meaning of the product or service? Who is it targeting? What is the target group? What are the needs of this target group? What are the kind of problems that we're going to solve? What is the product all about? What is the difference with the existing competitive products? What with competition? Is it feasible to develop such a product? And what are the business goals that you're aiming at? How is the product going to be sold? Is it going to be sold as a monthly fee? Is it going to be sold as a one-stop purchase? Is it going to be sold with different sorts of packages or offers and so on and so forth? And I recommend that you guys, especially testers, QAers, just confront your projects, your products and services that you are testing today with that sort of stuff, and get it reviewed by the cross-functional team and by the PO, just to make sure that you are aligned, because based upon that you understand the product better and you test it better as well in the user or customer perspective. Of course, you can involve the user directly within the process at every step. This is the kind of things that is advocated in the user-centered design. Which is, at every little step of the project, whether it is planning phase, whether it is research phase, design phase, and testing phase in the end of the day. Basically, this is involving customers. This is getting not big groups of customers, just a handful of them, and just confronting your idea or your design or where you are today with their feeling, with their return of experience, their expectations. They are taken into account at every development step, and it's very important because you can easily lose the track, and you can easily come to the situation where you think that it needs to be, functionally okay, while you totally miss the point, and requirements are missing, and the functionality is not complete, like in the project that I've just described a couple of minutes ago. By the way, there are many misconceptions that we usually integrate within our reasoning. First of all, easy to use does not always mean a good experience. It's not because it's easy to use that this is fine. This example is called Simple Calculator. This is a product that really exists or existed. And basically speaking, it was so basic that it was completely useless. Of course, it was simple, but what kind of problem is it solving? Everyone, I guess, can do that pretty easily. And well, if you need a calculator, usually you want to get more, So easy to use, yes. Good experience, well, okay, what can I do with that? The second example in the center is a juicer. It's absolutely wonderful. This is the kind of juicer that you use to show off. You invite a couple of friends, especially if they are, a little bit snobbish or something, and you say, look, this is the wonderful Stark juicer. It is designed by Stark, the famous designer. Basically, it is a beautiful object. It is absolutely wonderful, and it's very nice, on a cupboard or on kitchen table. It looks brilliant. It's very expensive, by the way. It's a couple of €100, so that's pretty expensive just, for a juicer. But the problem is that it doesn't work fine, because if you try to juice with that, you put juice everywhere on the table, and definitely not in the glass. So it's beautifully designed, but it's not, it's not doing the trick. And yeah, the oldest guys like me here would probably remember in the 80s these wonderful, digital clocks that are now coming back to surface. The kind of, it's called vintage today, but whatever. And basically, there were so many buttons because we wanted to have less steps for performing a task, but we had so many buttons, or so many combinations of buttons, or so many ways to press here and there, that it made this a nightmare, and you never knew what you were going to expect, whether it would be the date or a chronograph or something. It was always some sort of a channel, and it gave about everything but time. So that was pretty useless crap. But it was very very fancy in the years 80, and it was supposed to be taking over the market of the traditional clocks, and now it's settled down a bit, and we're back to traditional clocks or smart clocks in any case. So wrapping up here. This journey into value and into customers come to basically trying to understand and figure out what value really mean, and not only means to you, but also to your customers, to your users, and so on and so forth, and how this value can eventually be challenged by alternatives. Remember the diamond stuff? Diamonds are fine, but if I can have synthetic diamonds, it's fine as well. Another very common example of that is fur. 40, 50 years ago, having a fur coat was the top quality. Yeah, it was only rich people could afford these kind of things. And today, because of these people very involved in animal welfare and well-being and so on and so forth, having a fur coat today is totally it's not possible anymore. It's not fancy anymore. It's just kind of a barbaric act of violence against animals. So this is value against values. Who is it for? That is absolutely key there. Somebody is paying the bill in the end of the day. So and that person, these are your users, these are your customers. So you're designing for them. And remember, guys, we are in a society that is evolving, where IT is present everywhere. So we are designing not only for ITers, we are designing for everyone. And these guys need to be able to use your product. So that's about usability as well. There are alternatives, so you're not alone in the world. There are other alternatives. Again, diamond, fur. It's not that we have a problem. We have plenty of solutions to the same problem. And well, you'd better design the best one, or the fanciest one, the most attractive one, or the sexiest one, whatever. And of course, you have to be very, very careful to avoid biases and misconceptions. So, it's pretty easy to influence people. It's pretty easy to drive them in a certain way, but it doesn't stay for long, or it needs to be reinforced some sort of way. And I think that the best quality is the quality that lasts, the one that is not, deceiving, that is not biased, that is not misconceptualized. It's the quality that is really solving the problem of your users and customers. So the best is the enemy of good in here. This is more or less the end of my presentations, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope that you enjoyed this journey into value, into customer and user value. Thank you very much for listening. And well, I think that this is time for me to stop sharing my screen and come to the question time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olivier, as always. Lots of insight there. And thank you for sharing some of the tools and ideas that you have regarding value. So please, people, pop your questions into the comments box and we'll give those to Olivier. As a start for 10, Olivier, a bit of a provocative one here, perhaps. Why should testers care about value? Isn't it someone else's responsibility, like the PM or the PO?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for asking, Debbie. Well, basically, my belief today is that the job of tester is evolving, and not only with agility, but with the way that the society and the IT sphere is evolving all in all. And testers are nowadays more recognized as a role rather than as a job or a function. That was, the case some years ago, but now it's evolving. And especially testers as a role are involved in multidisciplinary team, cross-functional team, where they have to interact with loads of people. And I think that the real added value of a tester, and now I'm really talking about value again, our value as a tester, or as in the role of a tester, has always been to make sure that IT and business understand each other, and even then business, IT, and customers or users are understanding each other. And I believe that we are bridging these different spheres, users, customers, IT, and the business side. And basically speaking, our added value is in there. And if we want to keep that role, and if we want to bring our added value in that role, well, we need to understand each and every party, each and every stakeholder that is part of the process. And this is why I think that it is absolutely key that we understand value, and we challenge the PO or PM views on value based upon the input we get from the users, from the customers, and from the business side. So that's a little bit why I wanted to drive the testers on that journey in that sense.
So with this in mind, I'm a tester. How would I go about extending my skill set so I can actually get involved with this and really start to be able to drive the value?
Well, I think that you should enlarge your scope and enlarge your knowledge or your skill set. And basically today, as we are working in cross-functional teams, this is about communication. This is about all these soft skills, making sure that we can negotiate, that we can elicit requirements, that we can understand requirements, that we can rephrase, that we can negotiate, that we can communicate. This is on the soft skill side. And on the user side, definitely we have UX and UI that are of course domains of interest. We have acceptance testing, we have usability testing. If I just need to name some ISTQB syllabi. Now we have even AI syllabi where we need to think in a different way and integrate in a different way. So this is basically the kind of foods and thoughts that we must integrate in our new career as a tester.
It's interesting, the soft skills you should mention, because another question here that is about the complexity of the work environment now and these multidisciplinary teams, and how do I come to the fore within such a team and say this is something where I think I can actually add some value and I can fit. Is that, again, it's back to the negotiation, what have you? What are your thoughts on that?
I see that there are two ways, and that is nothing new, by the way. This was already existing years ago. You have two big directions, two big drives as a tester, whether it is a role or a job or a function or whatever. The first drive is the technical drive, and we are in very complex, intricate environments where you have different modules, different pieces of software that need to work together and that need to be integrated together. We have very complex frameworks and so on and so forth. If you're that kind of guy, this is where your value lies. This is about automation. This is about understanding the technology, about understanding the technological challenge behind these frameworks and the way they operate. This is getting into the data science, data engineering kind of topics and so on and so forth. And this is one way to look at that. And the other way to look at that, the other drive, is more on the business side, and this is the traditional pathway for the let's say former test managers or still test managers today. This is understanding business. This is understanding user. This is making sure that the interface is understandable and usable for people like my grandma. Or my hairdresser, or people mowing my grass in the weekend maybe. These are people who are no ITers. They are not all digital born people either, and they need to use that. And the way society evolves today is that you have to more and more interact with these pieces of software. Today, it's very difficult to find, a physical bank or a physical banker where you can, withdraw money. It's all in the wall or within your phone and so on and so forth. And we need to design for these people, not to exclude them and create another kind of, two-layer society or biased society.
Wonderful. Olivier, I think we've come to the end of our time. If anybody does have any further questions, please just pop it into a chat somewhere, and we'll ask Olivier to answer that later. Thank you, as always, and thank you to everybody who has been here and taken part in this. Just a quick reminder, we'll share in a moment a little bit about our social evening, Oktoberfest, later on, and I believe, Olivier, you're going to be there.
I'll be there. I won't miss that for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do have some questions and want to have a chat with Olivier, then please just do join us later, and we'll put up a little piece about Oktoberfest in a moment. And again, thank you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Stay for the next session, I hope, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
This 27th of October, we wait for you to celebrate Oktoberfest in our gather town. For sure, it will be a very entertaining event with live music, with A4Q staff, and of course, all of you. Don't miss our A4Q Oktoberfest. It will be very fun. Prost!